Yoga. Welcome to Yoga with Rach. I'm Rach, thank you very much for joining me. We're on week 3 of our fluid hip sequence. We're on the last few days of November before we move into December. And we're going to break down one of my favourite sequences, the Jala Namaskra. Jala is one of many words actually in Sanskrit for water. Namaskar is our salutation, our flowing sequence. I absolutely adore the water element, and this particular sequence just feels very natural and fluid in my body, in my practice. But sometimes we need to really be aware of how we're moving and break down how we're moving through these different poses to make it feel a little bit more accessible for us. Just looking at my camera, and I'm going to move my screen just so you can see the mat a bit more. So we're going to go through the main poses, or all of the poses realistically, of once we've moved into our high lunge. So we're not going to start standing, we're going to move through. So we've already moved into our high lunge. I'm going to start with a runner's lunge, just so you can find that with that active leg for that placement that we need to then go into our one-legged plank. This is sometimes known as half plank, but I tend to call like the knee down plank, where we're here. I tend to refer to this as a half plank, so the one-legged plank is very much like a balancing table, where we lift one leg up, but we're in plank rather than in tabletop. We then use that to move into side plank and wild thing, through into knee to belly plank, and then into our fallen triangle. Some of these may depend on how much room you have, but you can really keep this within like the spacing of your mat. Really move very slowly, be aware of where you're feeling any pressure on the hands. As you move your hands, it's really important to keep these movements quite slow and deliberate, so you're really aware of how you're placing the hands, the feet on the mat. And I will show you how you can move through some different variations, or even miss poses actually. You can just breeze through them. So rather than being a pose we stay in, they can become that transition, or we call it connecting vinyasa, where it's a pose where we connect one pose to another, so you don't linger in it. So we're going to start on the left leg leading. Like I said, we're going to go into, normally when we practice this, we'd be standing like any other salutation if we're starting up high, and we flow into a high lunge. So last week you had to go with the Jala Namaskra, which is the low lunge. So we would then go into our high lunge, which is the runner's lunge, which we're going to focus on today. Then into one-legged plank, into side plank, wild thing, and then into knee to belly plank to move into that fallen triangle, and then into downward dog, and we'll have a go on the other side. So we can either do this from tabletop, or you can start from your downward facing dog. And we're going to bring our left foot through in between the hands. You might need to give it a nudge, give it a bit of a wiggle. So we're finding this runner's lunge. So last week's practice was Jala Namaskra, where we brought that back knee down into a low lunge. Runner's lunge is that midway point between lifting up into a high lunge. So the knees lifted, but you're pushing your heel back. You want this leg to be nice and active, like you would in your normal plank pose, where you're pushing the heel back, or if you're finding your calf stretch. High lunge would be then when we lift the hands up, we're staying nice and low, so we can flow through this transition. Now it's important when you're here, hands at either side of your foot, your shoulders are already over the wrist, you're already setting up for plank pose, so you stay here in this alignment. This right leg is nice and strong and active as you slide the left leg back, and you lift the left leg up so the left foot hovers. Now you don't have to be here for long. If you're going straight into side plank, bring the feet together, turn the heels to the right side as you turn the body to look to the left, and lift the left arm up. Now if side plank doesn't feel comfortable, bring that left foot down, bring the knees down, take your right foot to the right long side of the mat, stretch your left leg out. You can adjust the right leg if you need to, and then we can lift that left arm up, so we go into a side plank variation. If you want to miss side plank completely from your one-legged plank, we can turn to the side, so we're turning to look at the left side, and bring that left leg behind. So bend the knee and step the left foot behind you and sit straight down onto the tailbone. Checking in where that placement of your right hand is. So I like to move the hand further away so there's not too much pressure on the wrist. You've got the right leg straight and the left knee bent, and we're going to lift up with the hips. Now if that's too much, you can stay here, lifting it nice and tall, and lift and lower the arm. Nice and simple, nice and easy. Don't have to make it too complicated. Or we can lift up, so we're going to be on the little toe edge of our foot. We're lifting the heel of our left foot. We lift the hips and lift that left arm up. Try to get this arm to relax as much as possible. And you can lower and lift, lower and lift. So if you're having a go with that variation, you're welcome to stay there. Maybe you moved from your runner's lunge into your one-legged plank, into your side plank, and then we can lift that foot up and step the foot behind and drape over into our wild leg. So there's lots of variations here. Now the last pose, we move through knee to belly plank as our transition. This one might look easier when we, as I demonstrate it on the other side. So fallen triangle is when we take the leg we've been working with, so this side's been the left leg, we move into our knee to belly plank and we kick the leg out to the other side. So left leg always goes to the right leg will go to the left. We've been lifting our left arm, but we're now going to lift the right arm. So from our wild thing, so we've got the hips lifted, bring that left hand down in front of you, turn onto the ball of the right foot, scoop the left knee into the belly, shoulders are over the wrist, and you're going to kick your left foot over to the right heel drops to the left, and you're going to lift your right arm up. Don't have to stay here for long as we bring the right hand down, bring the left knee into the belly, lift the right heel, and moving into downward facing dog. We're going to have a go with that on the other side. So you might be moving through downward dog or tabletop, bringing the right foot through, but step it there, or using your down dog splits. We move into our runner's lunge. So left heel is pushing back, leg is nice and active, right knee over the ankle, keeping shoulders over the wrists, slide that right leg back, one-legged plank. From here we can stack the feet. You might need to move the left hand and lift the right arm up into your side plank. Maybe you're bringing the knees down, so you're going to take your left foot to the left side. As you turn, stretching the right leg out so you're on the inner arch and lifting the right arm up. So you can find this slightly more supported side plank, so you've got the left knee, shin and foot on the mat. Maybe you're breezing through your side plank as you turn and you step that right foot behind you and you sit straight down. So you've got the left hand on the mat, left leg is out straight, right knee is bent. You're going to stay on the little toe side of your left foot. You're lifting the ball, the heel, sorry, of the foot of your right leg, so you're on the ball of the foot. We can lift and lower the right arm. We can lift the hips and lower. Or you can have a go with finding your wild thing, try to make that right arm relax. Or if you're spinning straight through, so you've gone from your one-legged plank into side plank, you can bend that right knee, step the foot behind, keep the hips pushing up high. Obviously you can sit down if you wish to have that little pause. We've got our knee to belly plank and then into our fallen triangle. So we can lift the hips, place the right hand down, spinning, so we're on the toes, ball of the foot of that left foot, bringing the right knee in. You're going to kick that right leg out to the left, drop your left heel to the right, and as you turn, left arm lifts. So you get this funny little twist, bring the left hand down, lift the left heel, right knee into the belly, and downward facing dog. Well done. And we can lower down, have a little pause in child's pose. If you do have any questions with any of these poses, moving through them in slightly different ways, do let me know, put them in the comments. Have a go with the full variation here, the Jala Namaskra. If you want to have a go with something a little bit different, there's another practice here. There's plenty to have a look through and practice on my channel. If you haven't already, do click subscribe. It's free, just helps to show your support. And thank you very much. I shall see you next week for our last practice in this fluid hip sequence. Thank you very much. Namaste.